All right, everyone. This is a safe place. This is a no judgment zone. By a show of hands, how many of us text? Pretty common, right? Pretty normal. How many of us drive? Everyone, right? I know, you're probably thinking, that's stupid. Why is she asking a stupid question? How many of us text and drive? All right. For the self-righteous ones who never text and drive, do you read your messages and drive? It's okay. Don't answer. According to a study done by the Department of Motor Vehicles, 69% of drivers between the ages of 18 to 64 here in the U.S. admit to it. Hence, why out of the 2.5 million accidents that happen every year, 2.5 million people who are involved in accidents, 1.6 million people actually had phones involved in their accidents. It's an epidemic, and it's here. It's happening in our cities, right in our neighborhoods. It's affecting our friends and our family and those who are closest to us. We must face this problem that we've created. I want to take some time today to talk to you about the dangers of texting and driving. I don't want to belabor you with information you're already aware of and things you already know. I won't drag it out long, I promise. But I do want to touch on a few points. I want to speak on why we do it. Why do we text and drive? I also want to touch on the dangers of texting and driving. And more importantly, what are the solutions? How do we fix it? Texting and technology has basically become the air that we breathe. Our culture as a whole functions around the internet and our phones. Everything we need is at our fingertips, albeit email, social media, friends, family, work, Google, YouTube, MapQuest. I mean, the weather, something as simple as the weather. It's all in our phones, and we have become so dependent on them. Heck, I myself check my phone repeatedly, even when I don't have any notifications. It's just a learned habit, and that habit doesn't turn off, unfortunately, once we get behind a wheel. Delaney Roustan, an internal medicine physician, explains the phenomenon of cell phone addiction this way. She basically explains that checking phones releases dopamine in the brain. That is the pleasure chemical in our brain. That's what keeps people addicted to heroin and cigarettes, things of that nature. Sexual addiction, it's the same thing. And that pull is why we know what we should be doing. We know we should put the phones down, but we don't. Moreover, we have become so comfortable texting and driving and maneuvering this little hand machine while we drive because we've got so good at it. But even the best phone people mess up. Your reaction time dwindles down, and all it takes is one car to come out in front of you. And if you are not focused on the road, you might have been texting and driving your whole life, and in that instant, it can kill you. So what are the exact dangers? Well, 1 out of 4 accidents are caused by texting. Lisa Harvey, the Washington acting premier, was quoted as saying, excuse me, I'm doing work right now. was quoted as saying, emergency service coworkers are tired of putting people from car wrecks with mobile phones embedded in their bodies. If that isn't a wake-up call, folks, I don't know what is. To put this into perspective, let me explain. Reading a message takes your eyes off the road for 5 seconds at a minimum. That is ample enough time to cause a collision. Let's take an average of 50 miles per hour. If you take your eyes off the road for 5 seconds at that particular speed, which technically is low, I don't drive 50 miles per hour, and I don't consider myself to be a lead foot. But at 50 miles per hour, that is equivalent to traveling a football field. What can you miss in that long distance? I don't even want to wrap my mind around what I've possibly missed having my head down in my phone for 5 seconds. A study done at the University of Utah found that the reaction time of a teenager on the phone driving is the same as a 70-year-old driving without a phone. You know, the person that you yell at, the old person behind the wheel, and they're not paying attention and they can't really see what's going on. That is you when you're on your phone. Not to mention, texting and driving is 6 times more dangerous than drinking and driving. So it's sad to say, but do us all a favor and drink a brewski and get in the car, because that is technically safer than having your head down in your phone. That is how dangerous this is. So what can we do? Well, there's voice to text ability now, where you can speak what you're trying to text and it'll input it in for you. But that technically still requires your hands. So it doesn't really do us that much good. There's also text blocker apps that will intercept your calls and texts and send out an auto reply for you, which is it's getting better. It's better. But America, really? Do we really have to pay an app to do something when we really know what we need to do? We need to grow up. We need to utilize our own willpower and fight the urge to send that one last text message. If it's that urgent, pull over and look at it. And quite honestly, as a passenger, you have to be strong enough to stand up to your driver if they're texting and driving. Your life is in their hands. That 3-year-old in the car next to you, that elderly person walking across the street a couple feet up, the couple in front of you who had to unexpectedly slam on their brakes because something happened ahead of them. Their lives are in your driver's hands. If they are reckless, everyone around them, including you, is in jeopardy of dying should he crash into them. Sending okay isn't worth someone's life. Not theirs, not anyone around you, not yours. Please be smart. Save a life. Don't text and drive.